Okay, everybody, we're going to get started. Welcome to Student of the Month, a true Wildcat tradition. First of all, thank you to everyone for coming. We always every year think, with everything, is there something we should do differently? Is this a bad time for parents to have to get to an event? But I have to say, your commitment shines through every time. I very rarely have somebody unable to attend, and I know this is a difficult time to get here, so thank you for attending and supporting your sons and daughters. That's why they're being honored here today. And for teachers, for taking the opportunity to choose one student out of, I don't know if you've thought about this before, but most teachers probably have on their list about 100 students a day they teach, so that's a very, very difficult choice. And I know sometimes they stand up here and say, I see 4 other of my students in the room, and I would have picked you too. The really, I think, cool thing about this award is that we don't give specific criteria. We don't say, here are the checklist items you have to think about in choosing a student of the month. It's truly up to the teacher. And as you hear their reasons for choosing your son or daughter today, you'll see there's some very special things that you've cultivated at home and that we're really honored to be carrying on and carrying forward with your sons and daughters. As part of the honor tonight, I want to thank a couple people who are involved. Mrs. Brosio, who organizes it all for us, called you down to her office to get things organized. We have Mr. Wallace in the back. You see he's filming for Wildcat Productions, so you not only get to see it today, you can watch it again and again and again because there's going to be a link online. Jack, our local Domino's owner. And in the packet you get today, you're going to get a certificate for a free pizza for your family. So this award just keeps on giving. And then we also have 2 young ladies here from Yearbook to take your picture. Okay. Just for the logistics, we'll call the teacher and the student up here, and if the student we do have the X. We have an X right here for the student to stand on, and you need to look out at the audience and keep smiling. We love your expression as the teacher talks about you, so you need to stand right up here so we can enjoy the moment with you, okay? So without further ado, we're going to start with Mrs. Rechitar, and she's introducing Frank.
All right, so I'm Lindsay Rechitar. I'm the social worker in the Q through Z LST, and our entire LST wanted to nominate Frankie, and Mr. Farrell did the write-up on him, so I'm going to read what Mr. Farrell wrote, and then I have something that I'd like to add at the end. So bear with me, I'm like so nervous. Okay. In our roles as counselor, social worker, and deans within the LST, we have the great opportunity to work with kids and build a relationship for their entire 4 years at LHS. This experience provides an awesome opportunity to see a young person enter their freshman year and then grow and evolve into the awesome young adult by the time their senior year concludes. I saw that time arrive with Frankie as he sat in my office and said, Mr. Farrell, can I tell you something? I received my acceptance letter to Western Illinois University and plan to attend and major in law enforcement. It's one of the top law enforcement schools in the country. I'll be the first in my family to go to college, and I'm so happy. As the Q through Z LST, we want to nominate Frankie for Student of the Month because we share in that happiness for him and want to express our pride for him. Along the way, during the past 4 years, Frankie has grown not only physically, but socially and emotionally and evolved into the caring leader and set a great example for others. In addition to his academic performance at a very challenging high school, Frankie has played 4 years of travel hockey, which requires time and dedication and the ability to balance academics with activities. Frankie really took that next step with his leadership and devotion to Erica's Lighthouse, which is a club that focuses on helping our school community understand the importance of mental health. Frankie has really developed into a committed leader for the program. He will no doubt take this leadership to the next stage at Western Illinois and continue to make a positive impact on others. Way to go, Frankie. As an LST, we want to tell you our pride and joy for you. And then I wrote a little something else, because I'm the advisor for the Erica's Lighthouse Club, so I've personally have known Frankie since his freshman year here when he joined. And it's just been so nice to watch him mature and gain self-confidence over the past 4 years. When he first joined the group, he was like very quiet, and he was also the only male, so I should give him that. It's like 25 girls and then Frankie. And we've had a few other males join since then, but to join as a freshman and be the only one, that's like pretty outstanding. But when it came time for our panel presentations in the health classes, he typically would just hand out the candy and like kind of stay in the back and not get too involved. And I think it was just because he was nervous. But now, fast forward to his senior year, he's leading the group discussions, engaging his peers, and when asked, always feels comfortable sharing his personal reasons for being in the club and his past struggles with depression. It takes a lot of courage to stand in front of your peers and share your personal journey. It's been remarkable as his social worker to witness how far he's come and see him offer to his peers that there's hope when you're at your darkest times. Frankie, I don't think you realize the impact that you have on those around you, and we really appreciate the caring, wonderful person that you are. So that's it.
Thank you. And Frankie needed to go first because he's got a hockey event, so go get him. Next we have Mr. Gerlach, and he is introducing Emily.
This is Emily's son. I have her in my 8th period graphic communications class right now, technically. Yeah, Emily actually stood out to me as student of the month because I have a student 8th period that is wheelchair bound, and every single day, without asking, there's always a chair in the student's spot, and I never ever asked her to do any of it at all, but every day she would actually come into class, move the chair out of the way so that that student could easily get into his seat. I never thought about it. I never paid attention to the fact that the chair was always in his way. So when Emily's gone now, because I talked about it, now I have the other students will actually come over and get the chair and move the chair for him too. So I'm thinking that they're wanting to be student of the month now also. But in terms of that, that really stood out to me. I thought it was super beneficial for that student. And for that is a big part of why I nominated her student of the month. Emily also is super talkative in the class, actually, surprisingly. Talks more than I thought she would. And she interacts with me a lot, which is good. And then she gets other students involved when she interacts with me. I think we've gotten to the point to where we can kind of joke around a little bit in class. I give her a hard time, I would say, pretty much every day at this point in time. But she's learned to give it back, and that makes my day go by a lot faster. She also excels in the class itself, so I have no complaints about that, and I look forward to hopefully getting her in class second semester, but right now she's not enrolled, so I have to, we're working on that at this point in time, right? But she'll try when she can in December, so that is why I nominated Student of the Month, and she is a pleasure to have in class.
And I'd like to call up next Miss Hyla, and she's introducing Hannah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Miss Hyla, the Family Consumer Sciences teacher here. So I primarily teach the foods classes, consumer management, and sewing. I have the pleasure of working with so many wonderful students that Student of the Month is often a hard choice, but this month it was not. Hannah stands out far above her peers, not only because she is mature and responsible and very helpful and one of the kindest human beings I've ever met, but also because we have several special needs students in our class, and Hannah goes above and beyond to make them feel included, to work with them every day, to make them feel special, and I often hear the interaction and conversations that she has, and she has more patience than I think I even do on most days. She is such a pleasure to have in class and such a pleasure to work with, and she is somebody who will stay after and ask me if I need any additional help, and those students are few and far between to find that go the extra mile to do that. And I have no doubt that she will be so successful her whole life because of these attributes, and I wish that I could have her every semester for the rest of my teaching career, but I'll take what I can get. So that is why I nominated Hannah.
As you begin to hear each teacher speak, I know you can begin to also think about how this just is going to move beyond the classroom, and these students are going to be so successful in all avenues of their life. Next, we have Miss Wine, and she's introducing Elizabeth.
Hello, I'm Amanda Wine. I work in the Special Services Department, and I've been lucky to have Elizabeth in my tutorial class since her freshman year. So we're going on year 3 together, and we're not sick of each other yet, so I think that's an accomplishment in itself. I'm a little nervous, so I'm going to read. Okay, so Elizabeth and I have worked together since she was a freshman, and she'd probably be the first to admit that as a freshman, she didn't always work up to her potential or take as much responsibility for her work as she could. However, over the past couple of years, I've seen Elizabeth grow and mature and become the student that she is today. Today, Elizabeth is a student who is committed to her education, which is obvious by her hard work that she's put into all her classes this year. Elizabeth has risen to meet the demands of her junior year and even gone beyond that in order to become more involved in LHS outside of school through student council. Elizabeth's positive attitude and overall excitement for life have always been 2 things that I've admired about her. I'm so proud of how far Elizabeth has come, and I'm so excited to see how far she'll go in the future.
Ms. Wine, I don't know if you remember this, but I think the first time I came to observe you as your teacher, you were working with Elizabeth. So you're the reason she's still here. She did a great job. Next, we have Ms. Powell, and she's going to introduce Kyle.
Hi, I'm Miss Powell. I teach English. I think out of my 11 years here, I have usually taught freshman English. This year, though, I have juniors and seniors. So a couple of years ago, I was first introduced to Kyle. I am wearing heels as I usually am. So I am I'll say 5 feet tall, but maybe a little less. And this is probably about the size that Kyle looked to me freshman year. So I was just telling his family how I felt kind of bad because him and another friend of his, Tyler, they just kind of rotated seats in the back row because I didn't know where to put them in terms of whose view they would not be blocking. So he was very patient with me in that. And another thing about Kyle from freshman year is, as all of you know, freshman year is a very transitional year for students. And so in working with them, especially on writing, it's one of those things where nobody ever feels as confident as you would like them to feel, regardless of the grade level. So I would find when I'm grading writing assignments, I would begin to think sometimes, well, maybe I should have explained this differently because it's just not exactly how I pictured it. And then I'd run across Kyle's paper, and I said, no, this is exactly how I pictured it. So I did say exactly what I wanted to say. So he was also often, I would take his name off because he was kind of shy. I didn't want to embarrass him. But he was also often my writing example for, hey, and let's look at a paper that did everything the way that I wanted it to be done. And it was usually his paper. So I was very happy when I got the chance to get him again for American Lit, because he is just one of the most perfect students one could ask for. He is a very hard worker, very methodical, thinks everything out, will ask questions, but will do his best all the time to remain focused and handle everything he can on his own. I hope he knows he can ask me a question if he ever does feel lost about something. But he's just a real pleasure to have in class. I was so excited to have him again in class. And my biggest wish is that I still teach seniors next year, so then I could have him senior year as well. And that's it. Thank you.
That would be super lucky if you got him a third time. Next, we have Ms. Torrance, and she's introducing Jacob.
So my name is Suzanne Torrance, and I am nominating Jacob Mueller for this month. And I teach physics, and I find it difficult to nominate for Student of the Month. Most months that it's an opportunity for me, I have to be honest, I let it pass by because I have a hard time choosing. For example, today I believe I have 5 students here from my classes this year. It's a higher academic level course. People who are in it are generally motivated. I find the majority of my students are kind and pleasant to work with and respectful. And Jacob is all of those things. This month when I was going through, at first I thought, I don't know. And I looked at grades, and I realized that Jacob has one of the highest grades in the class right now, and that stood out to me. It wasn't terribly unexpected, but then I thought, my goodness, he is a golfer and had to miss class for his tournaments. I think we tallied it up that it was 8 classes that he missed. He ended up going to state for golf, which was impressive, but I thought, how do you miss 8 days and still nail this? He's very good at physics, but it's not his innate talent, it's his responsibility about it that got him to have success still. Every time he was absent, he asked beforehand what he was missing. He had it done when he came back. He probably could have skated without working really hard because he's good at it, but he didn't seem to skate. He seemed to stay really on top of it, and I appreciate your kindness and how easy it is to work with you, but I've nominated you because of your responsibility and your motivation. Good work.
And next we have Miss Laura, and she's introducing Jamie.
Okay, right here. Hi, everybody. I like hearing from like Miss Powell and other teachers who have the opportunity to teach kids year after year after year. In a class like I teach, that would be bad. Because if I have somebody for a second year, it means either I didn't do my job or they didn't do theirs. So to meet a student that makes an impression by October, that person really has to stand out. And so when I met Jamie just a few short weeks ago, I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was something about her that really stood out. And then I realized she reminds me a lot of a younger version of myself. So really, JB, I'm nominating you, not for that, but because there are qualities in you that I admire. So you can read the write-up, but the things that stuck out, first of all, she's up for a challenge, and I really respect that. Jamie is in my honors U.S. history class. U.S. history is a class everybody has to take. They can take it at a regular level and do fine and graduate wonderfully. They can take it at an honors level where they know full well they're going to have to work harder and read longer and write more. And she was up for that challenge, and that stuck out for me immediately. Jamie, I find you very strong of character and voice, which you know I love. The other day they had to do a group quiz, so she had to lead the entire class to take a quiz together, and they all earned the same score. So I chose Jamie to lead that because I knew she could wrangle that group of kids in, so I appreciate that. Other words that come to mind when I think of you, one of my favorite characteristics in anybody, but especially in a young woman, would be resiliency. And I've seen that. You would agree, resiliency to be able to withstand things, but more importantly, recover and bloom immediately. And I find that to be amazing in a 16, 17-year-old. And I was thinking if I had to choose one word to describe you in October, I bet you that word's going to be different when we know each other even more in the spring, But right now, the word that stuck out to me was grounded. And you can't say that about all teens. So for all of those things and for your attitude towards the class, you are Social Sciences Student of the Month, Jamie Johnson. Yay! Yay!
Jamie, do you see the similarities between you and Miss Lara?
What's she going to say? I don't know how Miss Lara works.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, it's a great compliment. Next, we have Miss Oshevsky, and she's introducing Danielle.
All right. Hi. My name is Nikki Oshevsky, and I am Danielle's math teacher this year for pre-calc. And so, as I'm thinking of all these characteristics of what everyone's saying about their students, it's amazing, and it's echoed through everything that you do and everything that you stand for. I think one of the things as a parent myself, I ask my teachers when I go to parent-teacher conferences, is my kid a good person? Are they kind? Do they take care of others? Are they a good friend? And I see that in Danielle every day. In class, she just, every day walks in with a smile. Warmth of personality is outstanding. Greets everybody, greets me every day. And when she's working with group members or peers, just overly kind with them. Just checking in, making sure they understand things, making sure they really understand the material, and just the patience that you have for your peers is fantastic. Every day at the end of class, Danielle comes up to me without fail as everybody's walking out and says, "Thank you for today. Thank you, have a great day." And just taking that extra second just to check in at the end of the day is awesome. In terms of her math skills, she's wonderful. She will often come into first period when I have MASH first period, and Danielle will come in and she'll come in and just check her homework with me or check one answer just to make sure she really gets what's going on. So that too is above and beyond where a lot of her peers go. But I always look for students that inspire me when I select Students of the Month, and I think that students don't realize the kind of impact they have on their teachers every day. And you have someone like Danielle who comes in overly kind, works hard, friendly with everybody, just a good person to the core. And that's the kind of person that inspires me to do the best that I can do every day. And that's the kind of person that inspires the people around you. So for that, I just applaud you, and I applaud just your grace, your personality, and your kindness to those around you. So thank you, Danielle. Yeah.
You know, Danielle, I just want to add to that. As you know, you were part of the girls' swim team I worked with this year, teaching yoga on Tuesdays. And oftentimes I would go in there, and, you know, they're all got all this energy from the end of the day. And I'm like, oh, are you guys ready? And Danielle would always wrangle the whole group together and get them all completely focused. The leadership ability you have is amazing. Aside from that, afterwards, I would often you didn't maybe think I was listening, but when you talked to them afterwards, I was, because you really encouraged them, not only in their swimming, but other things they were doing. I saw some great leadership in that room. So thank you for helping me out. And you always thanked me every single day I was there, so thank you. Next we have Miss Rubin, and she's introducing Ryan.
Hi, everybody. So I've just promised Ryan that I'm going to try to make him as embarrassed as I possibly can by talking as long as I possibly can about him. And I could do that because he is one of those students that really is just unforgettable. And by my calculations, he's actually been working towards this award for 7 years now. Not because he's been here for 7 years, but because his sister before him was a student of mine for 4 years and also earned the Student of the Month recognition. And she has been basically talking to him, or had been talking to him, about Latin since her freshman year. So when I finally got him 4 years later, he was excited right off the bat. So this is our 3rd year together. He's in Latin 3 honors. And ever since I first met him, I've basically just been waiting for a chance for the right moment to present this award to him. He has always been so enthusiastic about everything that we do in class. He's a wonderful, wonderful student, so talented. Like he has a natural ability for the Latin language, which is a really tough language. And he always gets it, but he never shows any smidgen of impatience for anyone else in the class that has a harder time understanding the concepts or it takes longer. He is just so kind to all of his classmates, so helpful. I'll see him turn around, and if somebody does a good job, put out the fist, pound, and just is really supportive of everyone. As a teacher, you can't ask for any more responsible student. He's last year, for example, he was in my Wish class, and he really stepped up and did amazing things, brought in like a huge popcorn machine for Wish. He volunteered to be part of the shopping group. I think that was you, right? That was you, yeah. And that's surprising because he was really excited to go shopping for our trip or for our family. But he's also just a truly, truly wonderful, wonderful soul. And I'm really honored to be able to finally show him how much it means that he has been such a great part of our class. Just another example, this year, he whenever he's absent, I think I got about 5 more minutes in me, just so you know. Whenever he's absent, he doesn't use that as an excuse. He comes to class the next day with the work. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, he looked at the calendar for what he had to do, and he didn't understand the directions because he had been gone that day and missed the notes. So instead of just being like, oh, I was gone, I can't do it, yay, he emailed me and said, can you please explain the directions so I can do my homework? That's the kind of student that Ryan is, and that's why I want to give him this award. So thanks so much, Ryan.
Next we have Miss Munkin, and she's introducing Amelia.
Hello, I am Cheryl Munkin, and I teach physical education, and part of physical education is total body fitness. That is a class that the kids sign up on their own. It's a very challenging class, which Amelia, who has decided to sign up for this year. So Amelia came to me at the very beginning of the year, and she is a new student to LHS, brand new, okay, junior coming in. And I'm just going to go ahead and read what I have here because I wrote up kind of a long write-up here. It is with great pleasure that I nominate Amelia Ruzicka for the Student of the Month. Amelia is a junior, and she is new to LHS this year. Personally, having lived only in Libertyville my entire life, I cannot imagine how difficult it must be to change schools. Amelia has made it look simple. If I hadn't asked the entire class on that first day of class if there was anyone new to LHS, I would have never known. I've been extremely impressed with Amelia from that day forward. When I put her on the spot to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself that day, I not only saw a confident young lady that was going to adapt well to a new situation, but one who was going to thrive on the challenge of living in a new place and being at a new school. It quickly became apparent that Amelia is a student who is thirsty for knowledge and isn't afraid to ask questions. She enrolled in a total body fitness class, which is an elective, as I said, open to sophomores, juniors, and seniors. This class has a reputation of being a pretty physically demanding class. When I asked Amelia about her schedule and her previous background as a student, I thought that she may have had a lot of interest in athletics or maybe just fitness in general. I quickly found out that this girl doesn't have much time for anything but her studies and her clubs. She has taken this class for a great reason, to be physically challenged, because her schedule does not allow her to have much time to do physical exercise on her own. She is enrolled in many difficult AP courses and has become involved in extras outside of the school and the community, which I'll talk about in just a second. She has been working with Mrs. Ulix, our activities director, to try to start a new club here at LHS, and I had to ask her how to pronounce this. It's Mu Alpha Theta, okay, which is a nationally recognized math organization or math club. And when I tried to find out more about it, tell you a little bit about her organization, I did go to see Mr. Mortellaro to find out more about this, because I don't want to bother Amelia in class, because she's just, I want her to get to know the girls, which she has done hands down, and I could talk to her all day long, to be honest with you. I could pull her in my office and talk to her all day long. So anyway, when I went to find out more about this club, I couldn't find out much, because even though she emailed the information to Mrs. Ulix, I couldn't open it. I even went to the LED and we couldn't get it open, but she has got information. So this is just how Amelia is. She wrote me a thank you note after I nominated her for this. Wouldn't expect anything different from a classy person like this. And Miss Ulix, or Mrs. Ulix, she wrote a letter to her, and she thanked her for meeting with her, and she gave her information about a flyer and a speaker announcement and a teacher blurb and a video. And I mean, this is the most highly organized student that I've seen in a long time. Not that we don't have many students that are very organized, but she just fits the definition to me for Student of the Month. So what I would like to say in closing is that I look forward to having Amelia in my class this semester, and I also look forward for her to do great things in her future, both as at Libertyville High School and as a member of our community. Thank you, Amelia, for your enthusiasm. You are a joy to teach. That's right. I told you.
And then Ms. Munkin, you forgot to mention, she got her club advertised on Wake Up Wildcats, which many of you in the room probably saw. Who does that, right? Good job. Next, we have Mr. Thompson, and he's introducing Evan.
I was told by Dr. Scott to cut this down to 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to do that today. I have known Evan since he was a freshman, not as a teacher, but he was on my baseball team to start the year, and I've seen a lot of changes in him. The hair keeps seeming to get longer and longer every year. You're combing it a lot, right, class? But the one thing that I really notice about Evan, and everything that I've known about him is two things: persistence and hard work. On the baseball team, he started out with the freshman B and worked really hard, and actually ended up moving up to the freshman A. This year, I've been lucky. I've known Evan for a while, but I've never been lucky enough to have him in class until this year. And I was thrilled when I saw his name on my roster that he was going to be in my class this year. And he had an injury in football where he had to have surgery, and he was out and missed a little bit of class, quite a bit of class. And I know most of the students know that when you miss class, it ends up being, because you're not just missing one class, you're missing 6 or 7 classes and all the homework that comes in with that. And then trying to do it with one arm, his main arm tied like this, trying to write like this is, I'm sure, not very easy to do. So the fact that he was able to do that and catch up and keep a high standard of work as well, especially in my class. I teach an engineering course, and Evan has been one of the leaders in the class, and it's always fun to see him. He's kind of a quiet leader. I wouldn't say he's a vocal leader, but he's one of the older ones. It's a lot of freshmen in the class, and they look up to him, and it's always neat to see. I watch the kids, how they work around the classroom. And Evan's a leader. Today we had a project that he was able to, it was a challenge, and they had to come up with a product in about 15 minutes. And he kind of took charge of his group and led and came up with a good product. So that was, but that's the main thing: persistence and hard work. I've seen out of Evan all since I've known him here, and I'm sure it's going to continue on as well. But that's why I nominated him.
And I see Mr. Thomas back there. We have Isabel, who's been nominated by both Mr. Thomas and Dr. Brown. Come on up.
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Thomas, and I'm the theater teacher here at Libertyville High School. 3 years ago, we were producing a show called Godspell in the spring, and usually we don't do musicals in the spring, but we were that year. Because of the endeavor, we had a smaller cast, but we needed a big crew to be able to do all the things that we wanted to do. In lots of rehearsals, we were looking around for people to give jobs to. And there was this girl that was just there that we're like, oh, this easy girl that we're getting to know. Okay, Isabel, yeah, okay, here's a job, and then here's another job. And after a while, I realized that I had given this girl so many jobs that we could not do the show without her. And for a freshman to take on that many responsibilities in the production is rare. And the reason why, after realizing it, that we were able to do that with Isabella is because she just made herself available. She's a student who is there. And not like in the bump in a log kind of way, but she is there and she is present and she is actively present. She is there and thirsty for opportunities. Opportunities for leadership, opportunities for just her passion in theater as well. She's also passionate about the other fine arts as well, which is why Dr. Brown and I talked about it and made sure that she was our nominee for this month. She's actively involved in choir and has been since her freshman year as well. And her peers even look to her for her leadership skills as well. We have lots of leaders here at Libertyville High School, but maybe not so many leaders that are as kind as Izzy is. Her demeanor backstage and on stage is also true in all areas of her life. She is a student who shines, but also does so selflessly. In the theater, for example, for our current production of Starlight Express, you could see that lots of kids on the stage doing some amazing things. But what you don't see is at the very end, we put our hands up and we acknowledge all the tech kids all at once, which I think is great. And if we could give them each individual acknowledgement, it would be awesome. But they all get kind of a little round of applause. What you don't know is that our productions here at Libertyville are entirely student-run, which means there is one person, specifically Isabel, who is on headset, and all of those wonderful things that you see happening, that you hear happening, and that you experience are happening because of this person. And that's a lot of responsibility on anyone, especially someone who is 16 years old. So, yeah, 17? Yeah, 17 years old now. So, because she doesn't get a single round of applause all the time, I would like you guys to put your hands together for Isabel Ferreira.
That looks like a lot of work on this set, too. And we've come to the end of our program, and I realize there's one person I didn't thank, and isn't it always the most important person you forget? So I want Mrs. Ulix to stand up. She's our activity director, and she's responsible for this entire program here today. So I want you to thank her. And when you hear students say, I started a new club, or I'm involved in this, it's all because of her organization, her encouragement for students behind the scenes.